pumpkin spice season is here, and so today I'm going to be sharing my super soft, wonderfully spiced pumpkin cake recipe. It is so incredibly easy to put together and will leave your house smelling like a cozy spiced pumpkin paradise. So to start off, you want to preheat your oven to 160°C or 320°F with the fan turned on, also known as convection mode, and grease or line 2 8-inch cake tins. As always, I'm using my homemade cake release. If you guys haven't tried this before, you absolutely have to give it a go. It works so well. Now once that's done, you just want to set your cake tins aside for now, and next we're going to sift together our dry ingredients. So I've got 270 grams or 2 1/4 cups of plain all-purpose flour, 25 grams or 1/4 cup of cornstarch, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 1/2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger powder, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, half a teaspoon of allspice, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. And then you just want to grab a whisk and mix that all together until it's well combined. All of these added spices are going to add the most wonderful flavor to your pumpkin cake. Now just set your dry ingredients aside for now, and next in a large bowl combine 300 grams or 1 1/2 cups of white granulated sugar, 3 large eggs, 200 grams or 1 cup of unflavored vegetable oil, I use canola oil, 300 grams or 1 1/4 cups of pumpkin puree. Now with the pumpkin, you can either use canned or fresh, but if you are using fresh pumpkin, then you just want to make sure there isn't too much liquid in your pumpkin puree. Then you also want to add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 60 grams or 1/4 cup of room temperature milk, and 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. Then using a clean whisk, you just want to mix that all together until everything is really well combined. Now to finish off, simply add in your pre-sifted dry ingredients from earlier into your wet ingredients, and using a spatula, gently fold that in until it's just combined. You don't want to overmix the batter, so only mix until you can't see any more streaks of flour. Okay, so that is our batter all done. It smells so incredible from all those spices in there. And now you just want to evenly distribute it into our 2 pre-prepared cake tins. Once that's done, even out the tops and then drop your cake tins lightly on the counter to remove any large air bubbles. And now these are going to go into the oven for 28 to 30 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. So my cakes are all done now. They have the most wonderful smell to them. You want to let them cool for about 15 minutes in the cake tins before running a thin knife around the edges to release the cakes from the cake tins and turning them out onto a wire rack to completely cool. Now while these cakes are cooling, we're going to go ahead and make the most incredibly delicious cinnamon cream cheese frosting. So to a large bowl, add in 170 grams or 3/4 cup of room temperature unsalted butter, and using a hand or stand mixer on a medium-high speed, cream that for a few minutes until it's light and fluffy. Next, you want to add in 400 grams or 3 1/4 cups of icing sugar, also known as powdered sugar, in 3 batches while mixing on a low speed, just to make sure that the icing sugar doesn't go everywhere. And you want to make sure that each batch is mixed in well before adding in the next. Now to finish off, you want to add in 250 grams or 1 heaped cup of cold cream cheese. You want to make sure that you're using a firm cream cheese, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And then you just want to mix that in until everything is just combined and the frosting is nice and smooth. You want to avoid over mixing because the more you mix, the softer your frosting is going to become. Okay, and that is my wonderfully smooth cinnamon cream cheese frosting all done. So my cakes are all cooled down now, so we are ready to start assembling this cake. So because my cakes have a slight dome on the top, I'm going to start off by trimming off the top so that they're nice and flat, and I'm just doing this with a serrated knife. Next, I'm placing my first cake layer onto my cake stand and then spreading out a generous amount of my cream cheese frosting. Next, I'm placing my next cake layer on top and again spreading out a generous amount of my frosting on the top and sides of my cake. Now once I've got a decent amount of frosting all over the cake, I'm using my cake scraper to smooth out the edges of the cake, and then I'm using my offset spatula to bring that top lip of frosting into the middle of the cake so that I've got some nice sharp edges. Now I'm just placing my remaining frosting into a piping bag with a 1M star piping tip on it, and then I'm just piping some swirls on the top of my cake. Now to finish off, this is optional, I'm just placing some walnuts on the top of my cake. I think walnuts or even pecans go really well with this pumpkin cake. And that is it, my pumpkin cake is all done. This cake is honestly so incredibly soft, it is bursting with flavor, and you get a wonderful pumpkin flavor without it being overwhelming. And the combination of spices added to the cake batter really just take it to that next level. So good. The cake layers are so incredibly soft, and you have the most wonderful flavor coming from this cake because of all those spices. And that cream cheese frosting just goes so incredibly well with this cake. So that is it for today, guys. If you do decide to give this pumpkin cake a go, then please do leave a review on my blog. It really helps my content out, and I absolutely love hearing from you guys. I'll see you in the next video.